Can you please explain how this particular item on here got onto the pictures?
It's a feature that was on iPhotos, you know, where your pictures are stored on your phone. Typically, you just push info.
And was that pushed in these instances?
I pushed info, and that's what came up.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendants 708.
Any objection to 708?
Your Honor, I would just ask the picture be redacted on hearsay grounds.
Your Honor,
for the metadata.
Okay, if you want to
alleged metadata.
Okay.
Okay, so just going to interject here as somebody who teaches trial advocacy. Something created by a computer printout on a document is not hearsay. The first rule of hearsay analysis is whether or not it was something spoken by a human. So if a dog barks, that is not hearsay. It has to come from a human. It has to be an assertion. Something generated by a computer, some type of record, is not hearsay.
Your Honor, one moment, please. I'm
All
just
right.
trying to figure out how to move this fast.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move the admission of 708 with the redaction, Your Honor.
Okay, any objection to that?
There still needs to be another redaction at the top, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll get it. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, 708 with the redactions, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. And I would also like the record to reflect that we're publishing this to the jury.
Yes, no objection, correct?
Okay.
Yes. There we go.
Okay. I would like the record to reflect that this was the photo that was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon.
Objection, Your Honor. That is
Your Honor, we couldn't
that is
put him in
inappropriate, Your
because
Honor.
we hadn't identified him. Now the jury should be entitled to know which photo
Your Honor,
was
we ask
shown
that we
as that
approach-
exhibit.
Okay, we can
This
approach.
is
That's fine.
inappropriate.
This is what I'm talking about. This is messy. So messy, too, with that trial transcript. Think about it. There's a court reporter who's taking down every single word that is said in this trial. That court reporter is taking down what's being said right now that we can't hear. That's being done outside the presence of the jury. It's all taken down as part of the record. And when they're stepping all over each other with the objections and the responses and all that, it makes it really hard to get a clear record. And why is the record important? Well, you guessed it, in case somebody takes an appeal. Let's listen.
Were not allowed to be shown yet because they hadn't been admitted. Amber, will you please describe for the jury what is depicted in this photo?
Yes, that's a picture of my face taken that evening, shortly before 9:30, after Johnny hit me with the phone.
Okay. Now we can take this one down and let's go to Defendants Exhibit 709. And based on the court's ruling, I'm going to ask if you can redact that, Michelle, please. I'm going to move the admission of 709.
All right, any objection?
Not with redactions.
All right,
Thank you.
709 with redactions and evidence. You can publish.
If it could be published to the jury, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes.
And Your Honor, for the record, this is the photo that was shown to Officer Sines and to Officer Haddon as Exhibit 25 for both of their depositions.
Okay.
Amber, could you please describe for the jury what's depicted here?
That is my face after the phone incident. It's that night.
All right, let's bring Defendant 710, please. And, Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Exhibit 710. The redactions have been already placed
All
on
right.
it.
Any objection?
No objection,
All
thank
right,
you.
710 with redactions, you can publish.
If we could publish, Your Honor. And for the record, a photo was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon. It was Exhibit 26 for both of their depositions. And please describe for the jury what's depicted here, Amber.
That is my face in yet a different light that same evening after Johnny hit me with the phone.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go to Defendants Exhibit 711. And I'm going to move the admission of 711, Your Honor, with the redactions.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, 711 with redactions and evidence, publish.
And for the record, Your Honor, for the jury's purposes, this was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon as Exhibit 27 to both of their depositions. And could you describe what's depicted here, Amber?
Yes, that is another angle, another lighting of my face after the phone
Okay.
that evening.
And when you say angular lighting, what did Rocky do in taking these pictures?
Objection calls for speculation.
I said, what'd she do?
To overrule.
Thank you.
Raquel took pictures of my face in various places around the penthouse. The apartments have really different lighting, really dark in some places. Anyway, so we just took pictures in different lighting so that we had an accurate portrayal and depiction of what had happened.
And why did you take the pictures?
Raquel did it to protect me because the cops were coming, and we knew that the police. I think at this point that they were already here. They were with us, but we weren't. Maybe this was right before. I'm not quite sure without seeing the timestamp, but we weren't sure what was going to happen, what the police were going to say, what they were going to do. We didn't know what Johnny was going to do, what he was going to say, so she wanted to protect me.
Okay. So let's go ahead and bring up 712. All right, now move the admission of 712, Your Honor.
All right, any objection?
No, thank you, Your
All
Honor.
right, 712 with redactions, you can publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. And please describe what's depicted here.
That is another picture of my face
Okay.
taken around the same time.
Okay. And then let's go to 713. Move the admission of 713, Your Honor.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, 713 with redactions, you can publish.
And for the record, this one was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon as well as Exhibit 29 to both of their depositions. And just describe briefly to the jury what this is.
This is another picture of my face taken at the exact same time and in the same location as the other one, just with one of the lights turned on, or an additional light turned on in the previous one.
Okay. Let's go to 714. Move the admission of 714, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right, 714 with redactions, you can publish.
And please tell the jury what this depicts.
This is another angle of my face or another picture of my face taken at a different time. I don't know if this is later or before because I can't see the time on it.
Okay. We can take that down. Let's go to 715. I'm going to move the admission of 715, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right, 715 with redactions in evidence. You can publish.
Thank you. And for the record, this one was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon as Exhibit 17 for both. Please describe for the jury what's depicted here.
That is a picture of my face. Some point later on in the night, it looks like that was taken in Rocky's apartment, or in the apartment that she was staying in.
Okay. And let's go to 716. Move the admission of 716.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. 716 in evidence as redacted.
And Emma, could you please tell the jury what this picture depicts?
Yes, it's the business card that one of the police officers left for me in case I changed my mind and wanted to comment.
Okay. And were the pictures that we have just seen before this, were they taken before the pictures of the police card, the card that was left, after, or do you know?
Objection, compound.
It's not.
And calls for speculation.
Your Honor, compound is
overruled.
Thank you.
We took pictures before, during, and after.
And the question I had for you is the pictures you've seen so far, were those taken before, at the time of this, before this card was presented to you and you took the picture, after, or do you know?
Some of them were, but without seeing all the timestamps, I can't tell exactly.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. Okay, and then I'm going to ask you to take this one down and go to 717.
I know it was kind of hard to see that card that the police officer left because of the way that it was turned in the picture there, but in the very middle of it, it says refused report. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, as she's alleging, but this is also something that can be problematic here and now in this defamation trial in terms of corroborating evidence that officers may have been able to obtain if she would have spoken to them. We're going to squeeze in a break. We'll be right back with more Court TV Live and Depp versus Heard after this. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We're covering the dueling defamation trial of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Amber Heard back on the witness stand today after a week-long break. What we're doing now is we're hearing about an incident in which police were called, responded. She did not speak to them at the time. An officer left a card telling her that she could call police later if she wanted to talk. Let's go back in together now.
I'm going to ask you, I'm going to move the admission of 717, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 717 is redacted in evidence. Published.
Thank you. And please just briefly describe to the jury what this is.
The two officers that first responded left me that card. This is the front of the business card they left.
Okay. Can you tell the jury, just explain what the interaction was that you had with the police officers, just describing what you observed as they came through?
I did not want to speak to them. I asked that Raquel's partner or husband ask them to go away without speaking to me.
And just so the jury understands, who was Raquel's fiance at that time?
His name is Josh Drew, and he and Raquel lived in the apartment at Johnny's invitation across the hall from us. Raquel had keys. We kind of shared keys. They were our neighbors, but had keys to our house.
Okay. So why didn't you want to cooperate with the police?
Because I wanted to protect Johnny. I didn't want him to be arrested. I didn't want him to be in trouble. I didn't want the world to know. I didn't want this to come out. I didn't want him to be in trouble. I didn't want this to be I wanted to protect Johnny.
Let's go to Defendants Exhibit 1374. That's 1374. One moment, Your Honor.
All right.
Hey, thank you. All right, move the admission of 1374A, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
1374 in evidence, 1374A in evidence, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Amber, what is this?
It's another picture of my face after Johnny threw the phone at it.
Okay. And then let's go to 1493T. And move the admission of 1493T.
No objection.
All right, 1493T in evidence.
And what does this depict?
This is a picture of my face after that incident. Perhaps by the lighting, it looks like it might have been taken the next day, but I can't tell for sure.
Okay. And then let's go to 1493S. And move the admission of 1493S.
No objection.
All right, 1493S in evidence. Publish.
And what does this depict?
And this is another picture of my eye and side of my face.
Now, were there also pictures taken of the property that you described, Mr. Depp, destroying or damaging?
Yes, there were.
Okay. Michelle, can you bring up Defendants Exhibit 700? And based on Your Honor's rulings, we will take off the metadata. Move the admission of Defendants Exhibit 700.
No objection with redaction.
700 with redactions, you can publish.
Can you please describe for the jury what's depicted in this photo?
Yes, my friend was preparing for a bead show and had displays to show these bead necklaces she made. And she needed some counter space in order to kind of set up the displays that she was going to use the next day. So she asked me earlier in the day if she could use the free counter space in that penthouse, Penthouse 5, to kind of set up those display racks. They were set up in that room when Johnny went in there to destroy things, as he does.
And this depicts some of that damage?
Yeah, security let him in, even though I had asked
Objection,
security
Your Honor.
not to.
Speculation
I don't think that was speculation.
and lack of foundation.
Oh, I'll sustain as a foundation if you want.
Okay. So what's depicted in what's the damage that was done?
Well, because Johnny would always smash up my things and destroy my property when he was mad at me. I had asked that they not let him in so that he could do that. I mean, the only purpose for him to be let into Penthouse 5 in that state, he doesn't have property in there. The only reason for him to go in there would be to destroy it. And they, of course, let him into Penthouse 5.
Objection, Your
So
Honor.
that he could go.
Yes, ma'am.
Lack of foundation.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Just tell the jury what he did here that's depicted in this.
This is just a one corner of the room that shows the destruction. He just went in there with this bottle swinging and smashed a bunch of things.
Objection, Your Honor. This is speculation. She hasn't established that she was there.
I'll sustain if you want to lay a foundation. It's fine.
Okay. Did anybody else, to your knowledge, go in there and do this?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Trying to lay the foundation here, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. Next
Well,
question.
let's do this. Never mind, we'll let somebody else tell who did it, okay?
Sure.
Just all I'm asking here is what is the damage? What has been done that's depicted here?
This is just one of Raquel's bead racks that he
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
I'll sustain the
All right,
objection.
let's go to 701. Move the admission of 701.
With redaction, no objection.
All right, 701 with redactions and evidence.
Thank you. Amber, can you please describe what's depicted here?
Yeah, it is our bedroom in penthouse 3, the main penthouse. Looks like he was just throwing things.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Sustain the objection.
So just describe what you see here as opposed to what you say he did. Can
I see a bunch of art tossed on the bed.
Okay, where was that art before Mr. Depp was at your house on May 21, 2016?
Hanging on the wall where it belongs.
Okay, all right. Let's go to, Michelle, can you bring up Defendant 702, please?
So objections are helpful when they're made to the question, not after the witness already answers. The answer's out there. You can't unring the bell. It is out there. And this is so sloppy, this back and forth on these objections. The bases are incorrect very often. The responses are not helpful, not on point quite often. This is quite a mess and will make for a very messy trial transcript, as I noted earlier. We're going to take a quick break. We're hitting the pause button here on Court TV Live. Tweet us. Let us know your thoughts of how Amber Heard is faring on the stand today after that week-long break in the trial.
Where your hard work pays off.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Thank you for being with us as we are watching Depp versus Heard playing out in Virginia after that week-long break. Both sides got a lot of time to regroup and prepare. The tone is very serious. This is being said, of course, by Amber Heard and her legal team. She's still on direct examination. And one other thing to keep in mind, we're seeing a lot of objections and a lot of back and forth, and I made mention of how it can make for a messy trial transcript when attorneys are talking over one another. It can also be really confusing and frustrating for the jury. That's what this case is all about, what the jury will find in the end. 6 men, 3 women are sitting on this jury. We don't know who the alternates will be, but 7 people chosen at the end of this trial. Let's go back in now where we left off.
Oh, Your Honor, and I forgot on the last 2. For Defendants Exhibit 700, that was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon. It was Exhibit 39 to both of theirs. And Exhibit 701 was shown to Haddon only, and that was Exhibit 30 in his deposition. I move the admission of 702, please.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, 702 with redactions.
Thank you, Your Honor. And let the record reflect this was also shown to Officer Haddon as deposition exhibit number 40. And can you please describe for the jury what's depicted here?
Yes, it is broken glass from one of the broken pictures that were hanging on the wall.
And where is this physically?
This is in penthouse 5 on the stairwell.
Okay. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant 703, please? Move the admission of Defendant 703.
No objection.
All right, 703 with redactions. You can publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. And let the record reflect that this was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon as Exhibit 41 for both of their depositions. And Amber, please describe for the jury what's depicted here.
It's another photograph of the stairwell in the same apartment, penthouse 5, which is the apartment where I kept my things.
Okay. And is that glass on the stairway?
Yes, from one of the broken picture frames on the wall. We had a lot of picture. I had a lot of picture frames on the walls, and many, if not most of them, were smashed.
Okay. Let's take this one down and go to 704, please. Defendants. Michelle, thank you. Move the admission of defendant 704.
No objection.
All right, 704 with redactions. Publish.
Thank you, and let the record reflect that this was shown to both Officer Sines and Haddon as Exhibit 34 to both their depositions. And Amber, please describe for the jury what's depicted here.
Just another piece of glass. It looks like the base of a wine glass. That is in penthouse 3, the main apartment.
Okay. And when you say wine glass, did you see this particular glass?
There were glasses in the kitchen, and always. And when Johnny was walking out, I saw him myself swinging the magnum-sized bottle, and I could hear glass breaking and things falling.
Okay. Thank you. Michelle, can you bring up 705, please? Move the admission of 705.
No redaction. No, excuse me, no objection.
All right.
And let the,
705 in evidence. With
Thank you,
redactions.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
and let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Haddon in Exhibit 36 of his deposition. Amber, can you please describe for the jury what's portrayed here?
Things knocked over on the kitchen countertop, and I see pieces of broken glass on the countertop as well.
Okay. Let's go to 707. Move the admission of 707.
Any objection?
No objection, Your
All
Honor.
right, 707 with redactions and evidence. Thank you.
And let the record show that both Officer Sines and Officer Haddon were shown this picture. It was Exhibit 18 in both their depositions. Amber, could you please describe to the jury what's depicted here?
This is the hallway leading leading up to the apartments. So this is the hallway that connects all of the apartments. It's kind of an indoor-outdoor sort of hallway, meaning it's covered, but it's exposed on the far ends of both to the elements. So this is not carpet. It's like a plasticky. I don't know how to describe the material. It's like a plasticky kind of netting. Not netting. It's difficult to describe, but it's a kind of an outdoor sort of carpet.
All right, and what's depicted there?
Wine on the floor and a little on the wall, it seems.
Okay. Let's go to 718, please. Move the admission of 718.
No objection.
All right, 718 with redactions and evidence.
And let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon in Deposition Exhibit 31 for both of them. Amber, please describe for the jury what's depicted here.
It's another photograph on the floor, not the wall. This one appears to be remarkably unbroken.
Okay. Let's go to 719, please. Move the admission of Defendant 719.
No objection.
All right, 719 with redactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And let the record reflect that this was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon in their depositions, Exhibit 35 to both. And Amber, please just describe for the jury what's depicted here.
At one corner of the kitchen in penthouse 3, looks like one of the things that was knocked off of the kitchen island when Johnny left.
Okay. Let's go to Defendant 720, please. Thank you, Michelle. Move the admission of Defendant 720.
No
All
objection.
right, 720 with redactions.
And let the
evidence.
record reflect, Your Honor, this was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon, Deposition Exhibit 43 to both. Amber, could you please describe to the jury what's depicted here?
That's my office. It's a corner of my office, and that is a box of like sentimental things from my childhood or things that are important to me. Keepsake box that has been dumped out. It looks like.
Okay. Let's go to Defendant 721. Move the admission of Defendant 721.
No objection, Your Honor.
721 with redactions. Publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. And let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon in Deposition Exhibit 44 for both. Amber, please describe for the jury what this depicts.
It's again my office. Same thing, different angle.
Okay. Let's go to 722. Move the admission of Defendants Exhibit 722.
No objection, Your
All
Honor.
right, 722 with redactions and evidence. Thank you.
And let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Sines and Officer Haddon as Deposition Exhibit 42 to both. Amber, please describe to the jury what's depicted here.
That's a picture of my friends and I when we were at that London house that Johnny punched.
Okay. You saw him punch this?
I heard it.
Okay. All right, let's go to 723, please.
If you thought the direct examination was close to being over the week before last, I guess we were wrong because we're seeing numerous incidents being recounted by Amber Heard and many, many photographs being introduced as evidence showing injuries that she says were all part of the incident she's saying occurred at the hands of her ex-spouse, Johnny Depp. We'll see how long this continues. Her Honor has put a timetable on both of the parties here, so they have a limited number of hours to present their cases. We'll be right back with more after this. Welcome back to Court TV Live. Let's go back into the courtroom. Amber Heard is on the witness stand, still on direct examination. Apparently, there was lots more that her team wanted to get to before they offer her up for cross-examination to the Depp team. Let's go in where we left off.
Move the admission of Defendant 723.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 723 redacted and evidence.
Let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon in their depositions, Exhibit 38 for both. Amber, please describe for the jury what's reflected.
One of the, it looks like a Magnum bottle of wine that is empty or spilled on the floor.
Can you tell where that is located?
It looks like it would be Penthouse 5.
Okay. Let's go to 724. Move the admission of Defendant 724.
No objection.
All right, 724 with redactions. Thank you.
And let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon as their deposition Exhibits 33. Amber, please tell the jury what's depicted here.
This is more wine that Johnny was spilling as he was using the bottle he was holding as a bat of sorts.
Let's go to 725. We're almost done, just two more. Promise. Move the admission of Defendant 725.
No objection.
All right, 725 with redactions.
So let the record reflect this was shown to Officer Sines and Haddon as Deposition Exhibit 37 to their depositions. Amber, please tell the jury what's depicted here.
More spilled wine on the floor. This looks like Penthouse 5.
Okay. And the last but not least, Michelle, please, Defendants 726. Move the admission of.
No objection.
Okay.
Your Honor, I believe the jury needs a tissue.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will get a tissue. You got some? Thank you, Halissa. All right, no objection, 726 with redactions. Thank you.
All right, and let the record reflect that this one was shown to Officer Hines and Haddon as Deposition 32 exhibit to their depositions. And Amber, please just describe to the jury what's depicted here.
More spilled wine on the floor. Penthouse 3 it appears.
Okay, thank you. Now, when the police officers were there, did either of them take you aside by yourself and talk with you?
Yes.
Which one, or both?
The male officer I did not have much interaction with. The female officer said she needed to speak to me by myself, pulled me aside. We went into Penthouse 3, the main penthouse, to speak there because I had been in Penthouse 1, Raquel and Josh's apartment up until that moment.
Okay, and then what, if anything, did she ask you?
She asked me if I would make a statement, if I would cooperate. She kind of indicated to me, I don't remember if it was what word she said, but she kind of gestured to my face and.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I think she can, if she gesturing to her face is not hearsay, it's not a statement.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay, and it's also not offered to prove the truth of the matter.
I'll sustain the
Okay,
objection. Next one.
so what happened next? Let's do this. How long were you with the officer when she took you aside?
A few minutes, if that.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you cooperate?
No, I did not, but it was my understanding that I couldn't stop them from walking through the apartment, which is what they indicated to me.
Okay. And were you with them when they walked through the apartment?
No, Josh, I was with them at the beginning of Penthouse 3. Josh, Raquel's partner, took over from there and showed them around the house up through Penthouse 3, which connects on the top floor to the neighboring apartment, Penthouse 4, and then on to Penthouse 5. They all connect on the top level. So Josh walked the officers through the house.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you say about the identity of Mr. Depp?
Nothing.
Were you asked?
Yes.
But you refused to tell them?
Objection, leading.
Sustain.
Okay. Why did you refuse to tell the police officers Mr. Depp's identity?
Because I did not want them to arrest Johnny. I did not want this to happen. I did not want any of this to happen. I didn't want to get him in trouble. So I said, well, I just refused to cooperate.
Okay. Now, approximately how long were the police officers there?
I don't recall exactly, maybe, I'd say less than half an hour. I really don't know exactly, but they weren't there very long at all.
Okay. Now, after the police officers left, what did you do?
We cleaned up a bit because there was broken glass and we had dogs. So tried to clean up the mess, and especially the glass. And Josh, Rocky, Liz, and I, we kind of just cleaned up and eventually...
We're going to hit the pause button here because we're nearing the top of the hour and we have to squeeze a break in. You won't miss a moment of Amber Heard's testimony. I want to unpack some of what we just learned from her with my two guests on the program. Still with me, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Daryl Cohen in Atlanta, and joining the conversation, retired police officer and police union representative Vince Champion, also joining us from near Atlanta, Georgia. Vince, good to see you. Let me begin with you, if I may, please, since we're talking about something that became somewhat of a police matter, but then not really, because Amber Heard wouldn't cooperate. How difficult is that when you're an officer, you respond to a scene, and if you think there may be a crime going on, but a witness or a victim won't give you any cooperation, what are you left to possibly do?
It's very frustrating, and unfortunately, especially in domestic violence situations, that continuously happens for all the reasons that even Amber said. She didn't want to get Johnny in trouble, or the person is the one that brings in all the money and they don't want to say anything about it because if they're arrested, then of course they don't have any finances coming in. You just have to go with the evidence. The only question that I had in listening to her is, did any, who called law enforcement, and did they know that that was Mr. Depp's resident? Because in the state of Florida, when I was practicing law there as a police officer, if you could prove who the aggressor was, and just going back to the pictures of her face, that there was actual damage, physical damage, that she didn't have to cooperate, or the other half did not have to cooperate or press charges, and we could make that arrest based on that. I understand this is in Los Angeles, so they may have different laws, but we did have a way of handling it. But this is one of the most frustrating things that we deal with in domestic violence especially. Right, Vince. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's a great point. And Daryl Cohen, let me ask you something about that point. When you were a prosecutor, even though sometimes we hear this speak about a victim doesn't want to press charges, victims really don't have that ability, do they?
Julie, once that police officer has been there, once the case has started, people think that someone can say, I don't want to press charges. The reality is they are not given that opportunity. Once they've been subpoenaed, they've got to be there. Eureka, Amber rehabilitated herself.
Yeah, and absolutely, prosecutors move forward all the time on cases where victims won't cooperate. Daryl Cohen, thank you so much. We will be right back after this.
Live.
This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm your midday host, Julie Grant. Thank you for being with us on this Monday. So after a week off and lots of time for both sides to continue preparing, the Depp versus Heard trial has resumed in Fairfax County, Virginia. Our cameras are showing you it all. We hit the pause button whenever we have to take a break, so we're going to go back in now exactly where we left in the last hour. And if you're just now joining us, Amber Heard is still on direct examination.
Couch, and they just tried to comfort me.
What, if any, knowledge did you have that there was going to be a second set of officers coming later that night?
I didn't know about that. That surprised me.
When did you learn that a second set of officers were coming to the penthouse that night?
I think I learned about it when they were there, when they arrived.
Okay. And we've seen the body-worn video on that. Is there anything that you recall outside of what was reflected on Officer Gaitlin's body-worn video?
I couldn't see much of what was on that video. I just, I remember being surprised that they were there, not really knowing why they were there. I assumed it was because I was encouraged to make a statement by the first set of officers.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
All right, just keep going forward. Okay.
And I was sitting on the couch. It was sometime hours, maybe between an hour, 2 hours, maybe more. I don't really recall, but we had cleaned up and we were resting, and they were comforting me when they came, and they didn't seem they didn't do it the first set of officers did. They just kind of came into the apartment, confirmed that that I was okay or that we were okay. They didn't really seem to be that concerned, and they didn't demand to do a walkthrough like the first set of officers had, and they left.
Okay. And what, if any, cooperation did you give them?
Well, I didn't need to. I didn't really cooperate with them. I didn't talk to them. I didn't even get up off the couch. I was speaking to them from quite a bit of a distance, like between you and I, and maybe more. And I didn't really say anything. I just kind of acknowledged that they entered, and that was it.
Did you provide them with Mr. Depp's name?
No way.
Did they ask?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take you to the next day, May 22. And I'm going to, Michelle, can you bring up Defendants Exhibit 772? What, if any, efforts did Mr. Depp make to reach out to you the day after this happened?
Well, he made several efforts. Immediately, he kind of reached out and lashed out. Again, kind of going on what seems to be slightly delusional thinking that just because he saw my friend's beads out on the countertop that it had become a workshop or a studio for her. So he seemed angry about, this perception that this bead display that my friend had set up was evidence of her running some sort of workshop. And he also accused us of having invited someone else to live there who wasn't living there, who was just in the apartment when Johnny stormed in. So he just kind of lashed out, and then the tone changed in the days that followed.
And let me stop you there. So I'm going to ask you to take a look at Defendants Exhibit 772. And is this a text message from Mr. Depp to you?
Yes, it is.
And it's on 5/22 at 12:23 a.m. So it's early morning hours after 5/21. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant 772.
No objection.
All right, 772 and evidence with the identifiers redacted and published. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, and I know you started to talk about this, Amber, but it says, I'm an idiot, PH5 is Rocky's studio. You are shameless. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, was that what you were talking about with him thinking that you're...
Yes.
Okay. And then, obviously, we can read that he says, I tried to make it work. You just turned more and more into a spoiled brat. Finally there. I'll never be able to understand how I fell in love with you. You're not her. I loved you more than anything. I did everything that I could for you. I hope our divorce goes as quickly as possible and that it is as painless as possible. So sorry you were as unhappy with me as you were. Obviously, the purity of whatever was has been gone for a long time. I will miss the moments of beauty and truth. Goodbye, Amber. The former him. What, if any, discussions did you have with Mr. Depp about divorce that night?
We did not have a discussion about that that evening. We didn't have time. He was obsessed with dog poop.
Okay.
That's what he wanted to talk about.
All right, let's take this down and let's go to Defendants Exhibit 773. Now, this is a text exchange between you and Mr. Depp. It starts with Mr. Depp on 5/21 at 6:58 p.m. just saying here. Does that refresh your recollection of when he arrived at your penthouse on May 21?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next series are on 5/22. They start at 5/13. And you're discussing talking. You said, sorry, I'm just leaving Amanda's birthday now. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
All right. And then he responds to that, correct?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of Defendant 773.
Your Honor, if we could just have a minute to review this exhibit.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it just this page?
No, there's
3 pages.
3 pages.
I'm just reading Michelle's hands.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 773 in evidence with identifiers redacted. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we could, okay, we've got it published to the jury, so let's go to the top, Michelle. And so it starts out with him, this is the 5/21, 6:58 p.m. saying he's there, correct?
Yeah, but I think he came in later than that. Took him some time.
Okay. And then if we move up, the next one is you at 5:22 at 5:13 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And then you say, thank you, and then can we still speak in a min? What do you recall of why you sent those texts?
I believe we had spoken on the phone. Or I can't control this, correct? The screen. I don't know.
We
what
can give you control, yes. Maybe we should do that and clear out my purples.
I just don't know what was sent right before this.
Go ahead. Your Honor, can
Well,
we
she
give...
can't scroll. She's asking to scroll.
Okay, Michelle, let's have you scroll if you can. Just go ahead and scroll through just slowly so she can read the whole thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, I believe that I believe he had apologized to me after the phone incident. I had commitments that I had to attend the following day on the 22nd. So the beach show I referenced, I mentioned to you, I had to go to. I also had to bring a cake to a friend's birthday party. So I had things I unfortunately had to do that day. And I remember there was communication with Johnny, both by phone and by text, where he was telling me that he was clean, that he was sober, he was clear mind, it wasn't the monster, and that he was so sorry. But I had already committed to filing for divorce. And eventually I have to let him know that it's not just saying it in the anger, in the fights that like we had done, you know, both he and I did that at times in some of our fights, especially towards the end of our relationship. And so I let him know that I I was serious about filing this time, and that I had had enough after the phone.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I had enough.
Okay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to draw your attention to the bottom of the page, Defendants Exhibit 773, and this is at 5:22, so this is 6:19 p.m. Do you see that? 5:22? And he says, just let me know when you have a minute, and I'll give you a call. Nothing I have to say, you should elicit anything but a sense of ease. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then he says, all my love and profound apologies. What was he apologizing for?
Objection.
Do you
Calls
know?
for speculation.
What was your understanding of what he was apologizing for?
Speculation, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. In his phone call with you, did he tell you what he was apologizing for?
Yes.
What did he say?
He was sorry that he reacted the way he did. He said he didn't mean to hurt me. He didn't mean to hurt me. If he really hurt me that bad, he's sorry. That he didn't mean to.
Okay. Michelle, if we can go to the next page. Up to the green, please. And he says here, I'm sad, I'm scared, and I'm broken, my sweet Slim. And then he says, I want you happy. I have zero harsh feelings. I am clear and I am me. What did you understand him to mean by I am clear and I am me?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Do you
I
have
know
an
what he
understanding?
meant.
Okay.
But, Your Honor,
Did
there's
he
a
use
lot.
that phrase with you?
I'll hold on. I'll sustain that objection.
I'm trying to get to the
Yeah, I
next
know.
one here.
Then you can ask your next question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Did he use those phrases with you during your marriage?
Yes, he did.
What did Mr. Depp mean when he says I am clear and I am me?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
I think I established the foundation.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you.
That he had sobered up. That he had sobered up and he was not the monster again, that he was him. That he was a good guy I loved. The one that I trusted.
All right. Now I'm going to ask Michelle if you can take that one down and bring in 771, which has already been admitted. Now those text exchanges were in the 6 o'clock to almost 7 o'clock range. And here it's 5:22, it's now 8 o'clock, correct?
All right, as we head to break, just a couple of things to keep in mind. We're hearing a lot of different details about a lot of different incidents, but to kind of cut through a lot of that clutter, we need to keep in mind a couple things. Johnny Depp is the plaintiff here who sued Amber Heard. As the plaintiff, he has the burden of proving that what she said in that 2018 op-ed is false. If what she said is true, that is an absolute defense to a claim of defamation. We're going to step aside for a break. We'll be right back with more coverage after this.
1-5.
Thank you for staying with us. I'm Julie Grant. Before we get back into the courtroom, a couple things to keep in mind. This jury at the end of the trial will be the finder of fact. 7 people will be on the jury. That civil verdict in Virginia must be unanimous. That is the law in the Commonwealth where this case is being tried. And the burden of proof is a lot lower than what we're typically used to seeing here on court TV. It is not beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not. Let's go back in now and hear more from Amber Heard. Again, she's still on direct.
Sorry if a bit. Please know that my hurt towards you is over. My apologies are eternal and belong to you. Solid. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And was it your understanding he was apologizing again?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Was there anything else he would have been apologizing for that he had done?
Objection. Calls for
I'll
speculation.
sustain the objection.
That's it. Okay. So tell the jury how you felt in that week, May 22 through May 27, and what you decided to do.
At the time, it felt like the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I had worked so hard to try to make this relationship work. I went to therapy, I went to Al-Anon, I got help, I read books, I did everything I could possibly do, and it didn't work. And I was conflicted. To answer your question, I was conflicted. I knew after he threw the phone at my face that after all that month of not seeing each other, not getting better, not getting clean and sober, there wasn't even, I didn't, you know, it was falling apart. I knew I had to leave him. I knew I wouldn't survive it if I didn't. So I made the decision to file for divorce. It was hard because, you know, I loved Johnny so much. I loved him so much.
And why did you file for divorce?
Because I knew if I didn't, I'd likely not literally survive. I've been so scared that it was going to end really badly for me. And I really didn't want to leave him. I loved him so much. I would have done anything, but I couldn't do that one thing. I couldn't stay. The promise and the hope that I had become less and less regular and more rare. The monster had been this thing that was now the normal and not the exception. The violence was now normal and not the exception. And it was so hard. It was so hard, but I knew I had to do it. I believe he would have taken it too far. I wouldn't be here.
Why did you ask for a domestic violence temporary restraining order?
I wanted to change my locks. I wanted to change my locks. I wanted a good night's sleep. Security would always let him into the house no matter what I asked them, no matter when I begged them to let me know when he was coming over, no matter how much I begged them not to let him in when he was mad or drunk or high. And I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up in a panic. I was losing hair. I was losing weight. I got really sick. I had shingles. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up in a panic attack. I had panic attacks all the time. I was falling apart. I was scared and very conflicted because the person I was scared of is also the person I was in love with. Really, really tricky. And I was thinking one step at a time. You know, I was thinking very myopically. I wanted just to get a good night rest, a good night's sleep. I just wanted to change my locks. I thought it'd be healthier if I got some sleep and I could think about what to do or how to handle this. If I just could sleep. And when I did, I realized that that wasn't enough, that he could get in any way, that the building wasn't going to stop him from getting a locksmith and coming in. I knew that he would do what he wanted.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Thank you.
All right, next.
Okay. So did Mr. Depp show up for the hearing on the DVTRO?
No, he didn't.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And why did you show up?
Because I had to provide testimony for why I needed a restraining order.
What, if any, warning did you give Mr. Depp about obtaining the DVTRO?
We gave him warning. My counsel and his counsel were in communication, and we let them know. We had to. It was mandatory. It's my understanding of it. I'm not a lawyer.
Was there any confusion surrounding whether Mr. Depp was going to file suit?
This is quite a moment in her testimony today where she says she was afraid she wouldn't survive if she didn't file for divorce from Johnny Depp. We're going to hit the pause button. We'll be right back in with more coverage after this. This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. We're covering Depp versus Heard, the dueling defamation trial happening in Fairfax County, West Virginia. Amber Heard on the witness stand, still on direct examination, being questioned by her counsel about many instances of domestic violence. They've gotten to the point where she's talking about how she filed for divorce because she was so frightened she wouldn't survive if she didn't. Then she was asked about why she filed for a temporary restraining order. Let's go in together now and hear some more of what she says.
Did you have any confusion as to whether Mr. Depp was going to file as well?
So I filed for divorce on the 23rd, I believe, and I thought that when I went in that Tuesday, when we filed for it, remarkably, it managed to stay under the radar. You know, these filings are not private. You can't make them private in California. And remarkably, it had flown under the radar. No one picked up on the fact that I had filed. And as limited as it sounds now, I just wanted as much privacy as we could have. You know, one day at a time, I wanted as much privacy as we could possibly get. And the filing had been missed by TMZ and, you know, these paparazzi outlets and stuff. But between the communications between our counsel, I realized that Johnny was going to file in retaliation.
Objection, hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
I'm trying to think how to ask this. So, without saying what the counsel said, what was your understanding and what was your concern?
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right, well, let's move on. Michelle, can you bring up Defendants Exhibit 800, please? Move the admission of Defendants Exhibit 800.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 800 in evidence and publish.
Amber, can you describe for the jury what this picture is?
It's a picture of my face while I'm sitting at the courthouse.
And were you wearing any makeup?
I was wearing nothing, not a stitch of makeup.
Michelle, can you bring up 801, please? Move the admission of 801.
No objection.
801 in evidence, publish.
And Amber, if you can tell the jury what this is.
That's me while I was obtaining my restraining order. It's me in the courthouse.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do while you were at the courthouse? Did you testify?
Oh, I provided testimony and sat there and cried.
Okay. And did you obtain a domestic violence restraining order, temporary restraining?
I did. The court granted me a restraining order at that time.
Okay. When you left the courthouse, what did you experience?
I walked into the courthouse. It was quiet. First thing in the morning. No one knew about my divorce, so I thought it was going to stay that way, and I walked out to a sea of paparazzi and cameras, photographers. It was, to that point, at that point in my life, had never seen so many photographers, and they just surrounded me as I walked out of that courthouse and screamed at me, screamed horrible things at me.
I'm going to take you just for a moment to makeup, and then that would put after
good
that.
break point. Okay, great.
That'll be
All right,
a
thank
good
you.
breaking point after the makeup. You
Yes.
said that you didn't testify. You didn't wear any makeup that day. We've heard all kinds of things about makeup in this case. Could you please tell the jury what your regular routine was with respect to makeup?
Yes, I get up and wash my face like most of us, and I put on right away a moisturizer that has tinted foundation in it. And then I put another foundation on because it has sunblock in it. I have a skin condition that my skin reacts to the sun in a bad way. So I have to wear sunscreen or sunblock every day. Anyway, so I put on both of those. I put on concealer, and I do that before I leave my bathroom in the morning.
Okay.
That's obviously if I don't have a bruise.
Now, when you had bruises or cuts of any nature, what would you do about those? Would you try to cover them up? Would you try to just leave them showing? What would you do?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Overruled on that.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Well, I'm typically photographed in LA when I leave the house, paparazzi type of photograph. So I'm somewhat aware of that anyway. And no woman wants to walk around with a bruise on her face. So if I do have a bruise on my face or someplace visible, the main thing, you have to ice right away to reduce swelling because no amount of makeup can fix swelling, but it's very manageable if you ice it really soon. Arnica is also a great remedy, arnica cream. And then if you want to cover up a bruise, you obviously put foundation first, concealer, and then on top of that, I used a bruise kit. Not a bruise kit, it's a theater makeup kit, a color correction kit, but I called it my bruise kit.
And let me, I use this, I think, in opening statement, and it's Defendants Exhibit
If you could by
155.
the microphone, please.
Oh.
We can't hear you. There you go.
May I approach the witness to
Well,
let her
that's what you
show?
could show counsel.
Yeah, it's different.
This is what I was talking about as a color correction kit. This is not obviously the exact one I used to carry, but I used to carry it with me all the time. Sometimes this pink is sometimes a little bit more purple of a hue, and sometimes the kits are 3 colors. You can get them in 3 or 4 colors. Sometimes they have even more. But the idea is that you want to counteract whatever color you're working with on the bruise. So the first day of bruising, the immediate is red. Red is what shows up right away. So you want to go with the opposite on the color wheel by dabbing on a bit of the green or something to counteract the red. After a day or two, you get more purple in a bruise. So you'd obviously have to go with more of the red tones, the orange tones here. Day 2 for me was always the trickiest because day 2 just, I feel like, day 1 and day 2 are hardest for me because that's when you get the most blues and purples and you have to deal with the sensitivity. Bruises don't like to be touched. That's the whole point. So that's the trickiest part. But after a few days, that becomes more of that blue becomes more of a brown, yellowish browns, like 5-7 days in, becomes more of a yellow-green, and then fades into a brown and then into your skin. And whatever color you're working with in the bruise, you want to go opposite color on the color wheel. The opposite, in the first couple of days when you have more of the typical bruise color, the blues and the purples, you want to go more of the orange on the color wheel as opposed to the greens that you start with. And then it progresses from there. I also noticed that Bruising on your face tends to heal a lot faster than, at least for me, it was faster healing than bruises on my body, or at least it seemed like that to me. And a nose is pretty much unrecognizable after a day or two, depending on how much you ice it. Lips are the hardest because they crack and bleed, of course. But it's easy to hide with lipstick if you're a woman, or, you know, if you wear lipstick, I suppose.
Now, we heard some testimony of people in the week of May 21st to 27th saying that you didn't wear a stitch of makeup. Oh, was that true?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
They just don't know what they're talking about. I always wear makeup.
Okay. You always wear makeup?
I mean, it's part of my bathroom routine in the morning. You know, wash my face. I put on moisturizer. My moisturizer has tinted foundation in it, and I'm certainly not going to walk around LA with bruises on my face.
Okay. I think that's
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our lunch recess at this time. Again, do not do any outside research and do not discuss the case with anybody.
Okay, a couple quick things. First of all, not hearsay. It was testified to in this trial by somebody under oath. So she could definitely answer that question. That objection was not proper. The other thing, too, did you catch what the Heard team did there? That was very, very smart. We know that after the opening statement and counsel mentioned that palette, the internet exploded with many people fact-checking whether or not that palette was in existence. Apparently, the one that her counsel referenced in open was not in existence at the time. And you saw Amber Heard saying the one that counsel handed her was not the one she used. She used one similar. So that issue might have just been fixed. And those of you watching very closely, you know that too. All right, we'll be right back after this.
0793.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. So I want to let you know in real time, the jury was able to get a lunch break in, but because we are pausing the testimony so you can see it all, we went through the lunch break. So now we're back in real time. Let's go back into the courtroom together now. The jury's in the box, ready to hear more from Amber Heard.
Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of Defendants Exhibit 155.
Okay.
That's the makeup palette.
Oh, okay. Any objection to that?
No objection.
All right, 155 in evidence. Do we have it?
I think it's there. We had pictures for.
All right, thank you. All right, 155 in evidence. What was it? 155, got it. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, can you bring up Depp Exhibit number 357B as in boy, plaintiff's exhibit, and it is a tape recording from June 2016. The timestamps are 4:47 to 7:52.
All right. Is that in evidence yet?
I'm going to move the admission of it. Your Honor.
Okay,
Thank you.
so was that going to be for the whole 357, or is that 357A, or is that?
That's just B. I have that as B as in boy. I think there was a portion that
Okay,
was put in there.
357B. Any objection to 357B?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 357B in evidence. Thank you.
I can just tell you the basic facts is like it was private for days after I filed. You did not have to file. That's not a move that the other party has to make.
Okay.
It's just not.
Okay.
And you did.
Okay.
What your team did.
Okay.
And then within 5 minutes it was private in TMZ. You just do the math yourself without any other thing, and it's very clear.
Okay.
And I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that, and if that's the case, I'll acknowledge it. And if you say proof, then I'll acknowledge it. Look, it doesn't shock me.
It just makes sense.
If an attorney would do something like that, it doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't shock me. But I'm telling you now, if we go. If they file those papers, first of all, it's very bad for both of us, okay?
Well, he's not going to file anything that they think is bad for you. Trust me.
No, you're what you're saying. You got to do something to protect yourself, which means throwing me under the bus for some video about me being.
Not me. I have to respond legally. Meaning I'll have to go and pursue I have to pursue the whole course of action, because here's what you don't understand. If we do this, and basically, we'll know, because I called my lawyers and I said, why aren't we negotiating more? What is going on? Where are we? And they're like, everything is done in our court. We literally...
They won't settle. Your agents won't, your lawyers won't settle, baby, I'm telling you.
No, we want to mediate. We even have we even found mediators and everything. Like, that was all worked out. So the thing that Laura didn't agree to was she did not want to agree to a mutual gag order. And that's the problem. Like, she doesn't want the gag order. Why, Johnny? Why? Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she want both parties to not talk about this in the press? By the way, just talking about the press, not even talking about the court.
Okay,
Why?
I tell you what, Amber, look. And I'll get a message back to you somehow. Just but I'll get on it right now.
I just want you to know, I've not done anything and have not been doing any moves. But look it up, the timeline. Nothing was on the offense. Everything has been a defensive move because I'm being called a liar and a gold digger. And I'm not lying. After a dime of your money. And
Do you remember when you had this discussion with Mr. Depp?
Yes.
When was that?
I believe that was June of 2016, so after the divorce, while we still had the restraining order.
Okay. And what, if anything, was going on with respect to a gag order at that point?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm asking her. I haven't...
All right, overruled. Good.
I was trying to get Johnny to stop the smear campaign that he
Objection,
launched.
Your Honor. Hearsay. Lack of foundation.
What, if any, discussion did you have with him about a smear campaign?
Johnny told me that he would ruin me, that no one would ever touch me, meaning professionally, no one would ever work with me again, that I'd never work again, that I'd be selling Depends, is what he said, and that he'd ruin my career, and he refused to not engage with... Up until that point, he refused to not engage with the press by leaking.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
How is that speculation?
This is what he's telling her, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. I'll overrule the objection.
And up until that point, I was trying to, get him to call the dogs off, call it off, because it was forcing me into a position where he was calling me a liar, and he was forcing me to prove it. And I knew that wasn't going to be good for him. And I kept saying, don't make me prove it. I don't want to. But he was calling me a liar and having a really sophisticated, very, very well-paid, very sophisticated PR machine.
Objection, Your
going
Honor.
over time.
Calls for speculation.
All right. I'll sustain the objection.
I'll move on. Let's go to Depp Exhibit. That's Plaintiff's Exhibit 357C. That's 12:30 to 16:30. I'm going to move the admission.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. 357C in evidence.
All right. Michelle, if you can play.
I'm not, it's not about that. It would not be about me throwing you under the bus. You know what it would be? It would be released through documented people coming on the record and having the protection to do so that haven't had yet. It would be eyewitness statements. It would be evidence, tons of it, and it would be through years. And it would be unbelievable to imagine that either I'm in a secret fake club or B, I've had
A secret what?
I've had a secret fight club, or that I have been plotting to do this for for 3 years, and while taking pictures of it and documenting it, just saving it up for the right time when I'm not asking for any money and have nothing financial to gain from it. But no one is going to believe that. No one is going to believe that one of the two alternatives, either I'm in a fight club or I've been going through hair and makeup or going through makeup through all these years where I have corroborating text messages between people that match those dates of those timestamp validated photos of either corroboration between people hearing us or corroboration of next day, Whitney sending text message to Kevin, him responding, or, the kind of stuff like between me and people in your life. It is insanely cross-corroborated then if it is a plan. I'm going to put makeup on myself and take pictures throughout years and just sit on it for years. While having this imaginary life run parallel to it. Do you understand that the pictures I have match with text
All right, we're going to hit the
my
pause
mom.
button. You won't miss a moment of this testimony from Amber Heard. We have to hit a break because we're nearing the top of the hour. I want to say thank you to my guests this past hour, Officer Vince Champion and Dr. John Delatorre, for being with us. Also, we have a programming note for you. Be sure to tune in to Court TV Live tonight and every night until the end of this trial for a special edition of Testimony of the Day with Michael Ayala. He'll get you caught up on all the top moments from Amber Heard's return to the witness stand. That's starting right here tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Ashley Wilcott is coming up next, so don't move a muscle. More Court TV Live and Depp versus Heard is ahead. I'm Julie Grant. It's been great being with you.
She had eaten Johnny's weed when she was a puppy and had bowel control issues. And then he starts talking about the feces again and this prank that he said one of my friends had left for him in my bed.
Did you commit any kind of prank?
Absolutely not. I don't think that's funny. I don't know what a grown woman does.
Amber Heard back on the stand today denying that she defecated in Johnny Depp's bed, instead saying one of the dogs may have done it. Jurors are also getting a look at pictures of alleged bruises from fights with Depp. Amber says Johnny hit her on their honeymoon and would injure himself, leaving scars. Cross-examination should begin at any moment. You won't miss a minute of Amber Heard's testimony. Up next. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott, honored to be with you this Monday afternoon. Testimony in the Depp defamation trial has resumed after a week-long pause. Actor Johnny Depp is suing his ex-wife for $50 million following an op-ed that she wrote about domestic violence. Heard is countersuing him for $100 million. Now, Amber Heard is finishing up her direct examination, which means that her attorneys are asking her questions. We want to take you back into the courtroom. You haven't missed any of her testimony. We've hit the pause button. Let's get you back to where we left off.
Messages between, say, Raquel and my mom, or Raquel and my dad, or, between my two friends. Or there's a text message where I tell Jody the night before I had that James Corden night show thing, where I say, hey, Jody, I've had an accident. I think I may have I have a busted lip. I may have a busted nose and 2 black eyes tomorrow because I don't know how bad it will be until the morning and we may have to cancel. But I don't know how. I think I just I'll let you know in the morning, and things like that. It doesn't matter. There is nothing. And all of that won't be me throwing you in the bus. That will be evidence in this case, which it will be criminal as well, because I cannot go on Friday and file without filing a police statement first. And the only reason I haven't filed that police statement, which has been used against me, by the way, every day, And the only reason I won't do it, I haven't done it, is because I don't want to hurt you, and that means it goes out of my hands. And we had a third-party prosecutor come, and a criminal lawyer come, and they went, like, the problem is, hearing from you, like, your biggest struggle is that it's the most solid evidence case of domestic violence I've ever seen, and if you give this over to them or present any part of it, they will prosecute him. And I felt like I'm not, like, I would never want that for you. It's hard for me to even understand. I don't call myself, like, so in my head, it's hard for me to even accept any sort of victimdom ever.
Can you please explain what the context of this was?
I was begging Johnny to not make me prove what I've had to sit on the stand in front of all of you and prove and talk about. I was begging not to do this and have to sit where I'm sitting today. I didn't want this. I don't want to be here. I didn't want to be there then. And I was trying to point out something to somebody who I thought did not have a firm grasp on reality.
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled. Good.
Thank you.
I was trying to point out how absurd it would be for him to keep making me prove this by calling me a liar. I was trying to get him to not call me a liar because everything that I had said to date and everything I've said to date now is the truth. And I was begging him not to make me prove it, that there were photos, that there were witnesses, that there was my testimony. There were years of me with injuries on the dates where we were fighting, and they were documented. I mean, pictures from 2012. So I was trying to say to him, either you'd suppose that people would rather believe this is a hoax, elaborate, well-orchestrated, year-long campaign for what? Or that, what? It just seemed crazy. And I thought no one was advising him in his best interest. I thought no one was telling him the truth. I know he's surrounded by yes men, and I thought nobody was saying to Johnny, this is crazy, don't do this. And I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to hurt him. I loved him. I loved him so much. That's why I'm explaining to him why I didn't file criminal charges. I didn't file a police report, even though it was being used against me. I didn't want this to go to a prosecutor. I didn't want this to hurt Johnny. I don't want this to hurt Johnny.
Michelle, can you bring up Depp Exhibit 357D as in David? And that is 17:25 to 17:37. I'm going to move the admission, Your Honor.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right. In evidence, 357D.
I've been
Baby.
called a liar.
Baby.
And I've been called
Baby.
a gold digger.
Baby.
Everyone is.
Baby. Amber, I didn't call you those things. I didn't call you those things.
I'm going to go on now to, can we go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 357E? And this is 21:47 to 22:37.
Right.
I'm going to move the admission, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
357E. Thank you.
And you're stronger. And so when I say that I thought you could kill me, that doesn't mean you counter with you also that you lost your own finger. I am not trying to attack you here. I'm just trying to point out the fact of why I said call 911. Because you had your hands on me after using the phone in my face, and I had gotten crazy in the past, and I truly thought I need to stop this madness before I get hurt.
Oh my God.
And I never think about myself that way. I never defend myself that way. I never see myself as a victim. It's too tall, you know?
All right, yeah.
And I when they came, I did not cooperate with them. It has been used against me, not by the media, by your side.
And what are you referring to there?
That I don't want to call myself a victim. I don't like to think of myself as a victim, and I don't want him to think I'm attacking him or blaming him. I'm pointing out I didn't cooperate with the police, that I didn't want to get him in trouble, that I didn't want to hurt him. I don't want anything from him. Just don't call me a liar. It's all I said. Just don't call me a liar. Just don't say this isn't real. Because I'm the walking proof of it.
I'm going to ask to bring up Plaintiff's Exhibit, Depp Exhibit 357F as in Frank, 24:04 to 24:48, and move the admission.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, 357F.
I have said only this from the very beginning. I only have my integrity. And the unfortunate thing is
What about mine?
They take it a step further.
What about mine?
They keep taking, that's what it keeps, I'm trying to say to you, literally in words. I'm out of my mouth, that's what I'm trying to say to you. Every step of the way, I have said to them, the thing is, they're hurting Johnny by this, because every time that they call me a liar, or they say this is not true, or Steven, this text message did not actually happen, or that your security guard, which by the way was a follow-up to your security guard saying they never saw abuse happening. The same security guard who, by the way, have said to me multiple times that I was going to get killed.
And what are you talking about there, Amber?
That even though Johnny told me that his guards would say whatever he needed them to say, that they were the same guards who had told me that I would lose my life this way.
Hearsay.
All right, sustain the objection.
It came in through the tape, so that's all right. We're fine. Let's go, Michelle.
Your
let's
Honor.
go to-
If we could approach, please.
I'm sorry.
All right, they have a sidebar. So at this time, I want to bring in from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, criminal defense attorney Franz Borghardt. Just quickly, Franz, what do you make of all these objections and sidebars during direct examination?
Well, sometimes it's meant to make effective objections, as you know, Judge, and then other times it's meant to derail the course and flow of an examination. I think in this instance, they are legitimate legal objections that are being made, and we're hearing very sensitive topics, and so anything that shouldn't be coming out through Ms. Heard, it's appropriate to make the objection. So it's. I think we're still in the realm of standard stuff here. I don't think we're seeing objections meant to derail the witness.
And it's interesting to me, though, because some of the objections I don't always feel are the appropriate objection for what's being argued. And then some of them I've been surprised at the ruling and how the attorney then chooses to proceed. Franz, thank you for being with us today. You're going to stay with us for all your expertise. We're going to take the opportunity. They're still in sidebar. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will take you right where we left off so you don't miss any testimony. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Amber Heard has been describing altercations, bruises, marks that she says were at the hands of Johnny Depp. She's still under direct examination, meaning her attorneys are asking her questions, a lot of objections. The sidebar is done. We're going to take you right back to court so you have not missed anything.
Oh, move the admission. I'm sorry.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
Oh, obviously, they're going to have to say they didn't see it in front of me and other people that have heard them.
You're gonna have to do this under oath too, you know.
I will, because the unfortunate part is, I can talk about all of this.
Do you believe all this, Amber? You believe I'm an abuser. You believe I'm an abuser.
In May, in December, in April.
What were you referring to with the May, December, and April?
Just listing some of the times in which he beat me up and that he knew about.
So I'm going to take you now fast forward into the July 2016 timeframe. There was a mediation that came about during that time. What, if any, intent did you have to reconcile with Mr. Depp at the time of the mediation?
I wanted there to be no animosity. I wanted to minimize the animosity. I wanted to reconcile in that way. I didn't want to get back together with him, if that makes sense.
Okay. Can you just briefly describe what transpired during the July mediation?
Even though I had a TRO and I wanted to move on with my life, the campaign I mentioned earlier, the smear campaign, the article after article, the hounding me, the, leaking fake.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Okay.
Please explain.
What I was meeting with him about is because he, put these things out in the media. It seemed like every day there was a new attack.
Called for speculation, lack of foundation.
All right.
Did Mr. Depp discuss with you that he was putting these out in the media?
Objection, leading.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Yes.
Okay, please explain.
He told me he would tell his team to back off and to back off effectively if I agreed to do certain things. One of which, he wanted me to drop charges. He wanted, or some version of that. He wanted me to get back together with him and go on tour with him in the tour bus. He wanted me to do certain things that I thought were impossible and that would definitely go against all of everything that I stood for and had earned in getting my TRO, getting my restraining order and moving on. But I had to break the TRO in order to beg him to stop the machine, the press machine, because I was feeling like I couldn't live my life. I was being dropped from commercial opportunities. People were turning on me. A campaign I shot dropped me. I mean, it was just, I had never been inundated with that much press. Every single day, me and my family were, and every witness, anyone who even indirectly supported me got bombarded. And the media campaign
calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
I'll sustain just the last part of that, all right? Okay. Next question.
Okay. We heard Christian Carino testify earlier. Can you describe to the jury what your relationship was with Christian Carino?
He was my commercial agent, meaning he handled things like campaigns for a short amount of time, and then became Johnny's agent around the time of the divorce. He was a kind of mutual friend at the time between Johnny and I, and so he helped us kind of negotiate or mediate a time where we could meet. And my goal in that was to just beg Johnny to stop doing this.
Objection, non-responsive.
Overruled, that's right.
What, if any, desire did you have to return to Mr. Depp after the divorce?
None.
Okay. Now, you heard Mr. White testify that he engaged in negotiations with you during the settlement process of the divorce. What, if any, discussions did you have with Mr. White?
None. The first time I saw him was on the testimony screen in the UK during the UK trial. I've never spoken to him.
So he didn't negotiate your settlement?
No, he did not.
Okay. What was important to you in the divorce negotiations?
The statement. That was it. The statement. I wanted a mutual statement, and I wanted him to call get the press out of this. Just make a statement, and in that statement, clear my name. I wanted to clear my name. It's all I have. I said this to him too, and he knew this. All I have is my name. I come from nothing. All I have is my integrity. All I have is my name. And that's exactly what he promised to take from me.
Why did you agree to accept $7 million as your settlement?
I didn't care about the money. I was told if I didn't agree to a number, that it could be overturned, that this would never actually, it would never get completed, it would never settle.
Objection,
and then it would be
hearsay.
overturned.
What was your
Sustained, go ahead.
What was your understanding?
That if I didn't agree to a number, it would be overturned. So I took far less than what they were offering and what I was entitled to.
And why did you donate it to charity?
I promised the entirety of it to charity because I was never interested in Johnny's money. And in the divorce, I just wanted my safety. I wanted to move on with my life. I wanted my future. And then he started compromising that, calling me a liar, making it impossible for me to move on by doing so. So then I wanted the truth. I wanted him to clear my name and to leave me alone. I've been saying that since 2016.
So why did you donate 3.5 to Children's Hospital and 3.5 to ACLU?
Well, I pledged the first half, or 3.5, to Children's Hospital because I'd been working there as a volunteer for well over a decade. I knew the facility well. I'd worked there with another nonprofit, is how I got affiliated with them, and I knew they could use the resources. I was familiar with it. And
what about the ACLU?
And then ACLU because I was a supporter, because I believed in the work they were doing. I believed that they were doing good work for people who deserved it.
Why did you make the donations over a period of time as opposed to just a lump sum?
Two reasons. The short of it is because I was receiving the settlement in installments. I was receiving the installments over time. Second of all, so I could get the tax benefit of paying overtime. You know, is my understanding that's how you pay these like large sums. You pay it over time.
Did you make any payments towards these donations?
I did.
Okay. Approximately how much?
I allowed for the first installment, which is $100,000 to each. That came straight from Johnny in 2016. I followed up with $350,000 that year, 2016. 2018, I did another. Oh, and I also donated to $250,000 to Art of Elysium, which is the affiliate I was just speaking about, that does the work in the Children's Hospital. It was not going to count towards my overall pledge, but I did that too. And then I did another donation to each in 2018. And then Johnny sued me, 2019.
Before we get to that, did anyone make donations to the Children's Hospital or ACLU on your behalf during that time period?
Yes, Elon also, Elon, who was my boyfriend at the time, had his own charitable contributions that he made. He made $500,000 to both in my honor, in my name, in 2017, I believe.
And have you completely fulfilled your donations to the ACLU and the Children's Hospital?
I have not yet.
And why not?
Because Johnny sued me for $50 million in March of 2019, and I have spent over $6 million.
Objection, Your Honor. This is a motion in limine.
That part was supposed to come in.
All right, once you come forward, let's take a look.
All right, still with me, Franz. They approach the bench, and this is the first time you get a little bit of insight as to what some of the pretrial motions are about, because the Depp team just said, nope, that was a motion in limine, meaning, Judge, you'd already decided it couldn't come in, and you could hear Amber Heard's attorney say, no, that wasn't the ruling, it can come in. What do you think it was about, Franz? I know the numbers were out there, the $6 million, and we still haven't heard exactly what she did with the money that she didn't donate.
Well, first, I really hope that's supposed to come in, because if it wasn't supposed to come in, that's going to derail things pretty quickly. That is the stuff of mistrials. Letting something in that's not supposed to be in through a motion in limine, Judge, that's a big no-no. So I'm hoping that was just a mistake. But just context right now, we're dealing with a witness that's testifying that it's not about the money, as she's suing for $100 million. Now, it's a countersuit. That's a whole lot of money that it's not about, right? So I don't know optics-wise if the jury is going to buy that. Donating the money to charity, that sounds great. There's something not jiving right with her testimony to me. And I'm not saying she's being dishonest. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense.
And I think she better have an authentic reason as to why she hasn't donated the entire sum. Of course, she got the settlement in installments and then she got sued. But I think that reason, whatever it is, better be authentic. Franz, stay with us. We need to take a break. While the court's on a break, we won't let you miss any of the testimony here on Court TV Live.
Join Calibrate.com.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. Testimony in the Depp defamation trial has resumed after a week-long pause. Amber Heard is still under direct examination. Now, before the break, she was testifying about her charitable donations made with her divorce settlement. She also said that Elon Musk made several payments on her behalf. You haven't missed any of her testimony. Let's get you back in that courtroom.
So going back to that, then, could you afford to continue making payments to the ACLU and Children's Hospital?
No.
Okay. What, if any, intention do you have to fulfill your pledges and donations to these organizations?
I still fully intend to honor all of my pledges. I would love for him to stop suing me so I can.
What, if any, deadlines are there on your pledges and donations to the ACLU or the Children's Hospital?
There are none. They understand.
Okay. Now, let's go to Defendants Exhibit 1458, which is already admitted. Now, I'm going to just direct your attention to paragraph 27, where it says, neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. Amber wishes the best for Johnny in the future. What, if any, significance did that have to you?
That was everything to me. That was the most important thing in the separation agreement between us, is that he acknowledged that I hadn't made a single false claim, that my allegations were not false. I thought that just because he signed his name to it, he'd honor it. I mean, he signed his name to it, and I thought it would mean something. He acknowledges that I never did it. I mean, I never made a false claim, and I didn't do it for financial gain. And that's what I was being called at the time, a gold digger and a liar.
Okay. Thank you. We can take this down, Michelle, and I'm going to now take you to post-divorce and your career. Please describe for the jury how your career evolved after the divorce, which I think was final in February 2017. I
had to fight really hard to keep my career. After I got my TRO, I lost opportunities. I got canceled from jobs. I got dropped from campaign I'd shot. I was told I was going to be dropped from...
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
I fought to keep my job in a movie the biggest movie opportunity I had to date.
Which was what?
It was Justice League with the option to become Aquaman. It later became Aquaman. But I had to fight really hard to stay even in Justice League because that was right around the time of the divorce.
Can you tell the jury what Justice League was and what your role was in that?
It is a superhero franchise, DC action film, and it introduced my character, and it provided the base for the Aquaman spinoff that followed it, but that was not a reality at the time of shooting Justice League.
All right. And then you were able to be in Aquaman, is that correct?
Yes, I kind of showed up to work months early and stayed really late to fight to keep the job. I managed to keep it and managed slowly to kind of crawl, to gain through this kind of hard work and goodwill. I was able to foster. I was able to keep and make other jobs, and eventually made a movie called Aquaman, and Aquaman was very successful. I think it was the most successful DC film by its release, and I was getting my career back, even though it was, it took a major hit when I got my restraining order against Johnny.
So let's talk about Aquaman for a moment. I think you said it was the highest grossing film of DC films, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did that come out?
December of 2018.
Okay. And what was your role in Aquaman?
I play Mira.
And was that a lead role?
Yes, it is one of the leading roles. It's the female lead opposite Jason Momoa's character of Aquaman.
Okay, so you were his mate?
You could say that, yes. I was his love interest, the female, I was the female lead of the movie.
Okay. So in December of 2018, as Aquaman's coming out, why did you agree to participate in the op-ed?
Well, because I believed in some of the causes that the op-ed was seeking to advance. There was a lot of attention and energy around gender-based issues, gender-based violence issues in general. I had just recently become an ambassador for the ACLU. I was proud of that ambassadorship, and I was looking forward to the opportunity to lend my voice to what I thought was a great cause, which is just a conversation around women's issues and gendered issues that I think the whole country was having at that time, quite a political conversation and cultural conversation at the time, and I was happy to lend my voice if I could.
Who drafted the first draft of the op-ed?
The ACLU.
Did you initially want to include Mr. Depp by name or reference?
No.
What were you trying to accomplish by the op-ed?
I was trying to raise awareness around some of the issues that I just mentioned. There was some legislative reform, Title IX being one of them, and there was just a greater cultural conversation being had around gender issues, and I was happy to weigh in on what I saw as the unique phenomena that women and typically women experience in our culture when they come forward against somebody more powerful, when they speak up about gender-based violence. And I thought I could lend my voice to that conversation. I thought I had something to say about that.
Were you trying to boost your sales for Aquaman since it was coming out in that same time frame?
It doesn't work like that. I don't think any op-ed, a major motion picture or major franchise like that is not aided by the publication of an op-ed in the Washington Post. I'll put it that way. But the other way around can be said. I was wanting to lend my name at that specific time to potentially advance the causes within the op-ed.
Because of your success as Mira with Aquaman?
Yeah, just the publicity of the movie and the success of the movie would hopefully, in best case scenario, only add and lend itself would lend attention to the issues that the op-ed aimed to address.
What did you do once the ACLU had your agreement to be the spokesperson for the op-ed, to put your name to it?
I sought the advice of my attorney.
And why did you do that?
Well, because I didn't want to get into any sort of legal issue. I didn't want to have any sort of legal problems for talking about what happens to women or people when they come forward and speak about these sorts of issues, especially when they come forward against someone more powerful than them. And that backlash, the retaliation that people face when they come forward is exactly what I was writing about. And I didn't want Johnny to retaliate against me and quite literally prove my point.
And so who was the counsel that you hired to review the op-ed?
His name was Eric George.
Where's he located?
Los Angeles, California.
How did you know Eric George?
Eric George is the attorney who represented me in a different litigation against the producers of London Fields, the movie I mentioned earlier about having a body double and sex scene that I didn't approve of.
What was your understanding of Eric George's experience and skills to be able to review that op-ed for you in the context of your concerns?
Objection, speculation.
I'm asking her understanding.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have knowledge of Eric George's abilities at that time?
I did. I thought he had an excellent reputation and would give me great advice.
Okay. And what, if any, experience? What was your experience with him in representing you earlier?
I thought he was a fantastic attorney, very smart, and I trusted him.
Without going into the content of it, what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you follow in the context of the op-ed?
I took all of his advice. I made all the edits he suggested. I took all of his advice.
And what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you ignore?
None. I mean, he's my lawyer. I listened to him.
Okay.